So for starters, I'm gonna butcher some names of these because there are several colorways. There's a few that the words are not super fun, but like the colorway of this one, for example, is YANGTZE, Yankst. Anyways, really cool, pretty tortoise with some beautiful silver detailing. That's what that amounts to. Anyways, so we've got a very classic inspired piece here, which is funny given that it is incredibly new technology that powers the Gamera, but this frame is a combination of new and old. We have solid titanium temples on these combined to the classic acetate front at 8mm thick acetate with nose pads milled and inserted in as well. The milled and inserted in doesn't sound like a huge detail, but it really is, because that gives you the deep flush set. You can't really quite get on camera here, but that whole pad arm mounting area is seated down into that acetate nicely. Reduces the risk of that falling out later, which is good, very good. There's another version of this, I'm almost positive there was another version of this that has the solid acetate built-on pads rather than the inserted titanium pads. This is just the version that released first, and that's what I've got to work with. So, diving into that, there are some incredible new details on this piece, and it is across the collection of the combinations. We're gonna see some really cool stuff in the new acetates that are coming, so keep an eye out for that in a couple of weeks. Right off the tip though, beautiful detailing down that temple core, just the nice double lines all the way down, and of course that almost spearheaded straight into the temple tips, which are very, very beautiful. Now, what's really interesting, I think at least, is this looks like an entirely different color and acetate from the front, but you can actually see the highlights and the notes are the same across. If you catch this front edge here, you can see it's truly the thickness of the acetate that makes that difference. This is just milled down much thinner, much thinner, because the laminated are that clear to give us this beautiful detailing here. Now, one thing you'll know, I have always pointed out how much I love when there's just a little bit of a texture back here at the very end of the temple tip. This piece is no exception, but they've milled and etched that a little bit differently than what we normally see. There we go. So instead of just straight lines across, there's actually a design etched in there. Super hard to get that to show up on camera, but you can see it's almost like chain links running all the way across it. And then of course the beautiful little adornment right at the end. Stunning. Just balance out the design, keep the look and feel of it, add a little bit more weight to the back so that we've got a beautiful balance and feel. You know, I love a well-balanced frame because unfortunately they're a little harder to find, but we're getting there in these. The overall feel of it, I haven't adjusted this for me, obviously this is for the store, so it's still a really good feel. And one thing on these clear lenses, there's no marking on demos, and they're relatively good clear demos. There's no AR coating, but they're still pretty good and clear, at least in my lighting situation, which is set up to reduce reflections anyway. It is what it is. It's ready to wear as it is for that nice, cool, clean look without a prescription in it. Or they're all available as sunglasses as well, and for that, we have the beautiful champagne. I'm switching over to that so I can show you some details of it here in just a moment, but super, super clean. This is your classic P3 inspired style type shape. Now, obviously, it takes some cues from modern design. As I mentioned, this is the Gamera model based off of the super hypercar. Is that what we're calling the Gamera? Especially the new the new horizontally V8 5.0 twin turbo plus electric assisted. We're not here for cars. We're here for glasses. Well, maybe both. Both. Now, the Yanks I've got here, there were 149 in each colorway produced. This is number 6 of 149. This one, number 64. You can check that, 65. You can check that right here inside the temple. If it is a legitimate piece, you will have the exact numbering of the model. See, we've got Gamera here, 64 of 149 produced. The eye size on these is going to be 47 millimeters, which is the distance from the inside of this lens to the outside of this lens, with 24 millimeters across the bridge, which is the distance from the inside of this lens to the inside of this lens. As I always say, that does not tell you much about fit, because 4724 sounds like it's either super small or super massive, depending on which number draws your attention the most, but it doesn't make a difference here. Overall sizing and fit is good on a medium to average face. Could actually open this up to fit like a large very, very nicely in comparison to my signature Amsterdam, which is a 50-20. Overall sizing, very close. You guys know I hate that numbers game, so I throw it out there because people want to hear it, but it doesn't really mean a whole lot. Overall fit matters much, much more. Temple length, we've got a nice 145 and definitely some room to move there behind the ear, 143. All right, Tyler's much more specific than most manufacturers are. I swapped over to the champagne here because I do want to point out we do have some nice detail in the way that acetate is polished and finished, which actually gives us some nice bezeling across that top. Very softened across the brow line, which gives a beautiful catch light right across that edge. And you can see here, even moving on the camera, super clean look. And outside of that, there we go. So with these acetate and titanium combinations, you have a bolt that holds everything together right here. That is drilled and seated. I actually really like the barrel depth on this. It's just under halfway through, and then the rest is on that bolt. We've also got another leading stud up here, which you don't generally see on these. It's usually the one stud going through and the bolt digging into that. And I see those fail a lot. This does not look like that's gonna fail. It's much more substantial than most where that metal runs into the acetate. About the only thing you run into there is if the screw head shears off, and even then with that extra supplement, it's not gonna just fall off entirely, but the way that's in there, I just don't see that happening. A lot of times the other thing we'll see is the acetate breaks out around that stud, and yeah, that's not a worry here. Ton of material. The placement on it's really good. We're about 5 millimeters inset from the edge. That is not a roller, that's my eyeballs, by the way. I'm off a little bit, but very close. So not something you're gonna have to worry about failing. Plenty of room for adjustment as this is thinned down in this area, so if we need to bow it, there's plenty of room to do that. Back here, same thing. We go into almost, again, kind of spearheaded back here where it inserts into that temple, and there's too much light and reflection. This is a little bit thicker right here and thins down to that core wire all the way there back. And as far as that core wire goes, there's only about 8. Yeah, that makes sense. That's where the 143 comes from. It's about 8 millimeters from the tip of the core wire to the absolute tip of the temple. So we've got a lot of room to get that adjusted and bent in as need be, if need be. But otherwise, overall fit just out of the box is really good on this one. And that's a direction I like to see things heading. Always down for a good fitting frame, which is some of my complaints with a lot of the other designer manufacturers out there. So fit feels not good. Quality may or may not be there. We're getting there with both of them. And of course, we do have that beautiful little logo of his hiding right there at the front. Super subtle on the combination piece. A little bit more of that quiet luxury feel to it. Isn't usually what we see from T Henri, but it's nice to have some pieces in the collection that fit that bill. New packaging is overall the same for now. We'll see. You've got your little signature blue Monaco case with the shark suede interior, golden buckle, super clean, super pretty. The new packaging is very similar to the old packaging from the last release. You've got your warranty card, your certification card with gold foil stamping and signature. You're numbered for each piece there, 6 of 149 for our Yanks, and of course some details about the frame and the design connection. The decor is 18 karat gold, custom jeweled sterling silver beauty mark embedded in a crystallized temple tip. That's the thing in the end of it you guys saw me point out earlier. And hypoallergenic temple tips. All good stuff. All the contact points are hypoallergenic. We love to see that. And this guy, I'm not gonna open it up for you, but there's a beautiful new design on the silk cloth on these. Very good oversized cloth, which a lot of manufacturers don't do. I love to see that because A, it just looks nicer, but B, you can actually use the freaking thing. as it's intended to be used, which we do like to see, you know. It's collector stuff, but it's also meant to be worn and used, so balance, fit, feel, and ability to clean the freaking thing are all very good things. Now, that's my take on the Gamera, specifically the champagne color. I have a lot of love for. You tell me what you think. Some other colorways we don't have on hand, so there is a black, a deep blue, and some other stuff we'll reveal later, just for fun. Outside of that, let me know your thoughts on the new Gamera. If you're gonna grab one, love if you get it from us, but you know, we'll see how that goes. I'll catch you guys next time. Take care.